Welcome to In Their 20s, a podcast with the best advice. My name is Landon Campbell, I'm your host, and today we feature a very special guest, Roberto Aguayo, who is the most accurate college football kicker in history. Roberto played college football at Florida State University, where he won a national championship with the team. In addition, in 2013, Roberto won the Lou Groza Award, which is the highest honor for a college football kicker. In 2016, Roberto was drafted into the NFL by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was drafted in the second round and was the highest draft pick for a kicker in the last decade. In the NFL, he's played with such teams like the Bears, the Panthers, the Chargers, and the Patriots. Now, Roberto is the founder of the Roberto Aguayo Kicking Academy, a program that will help young kickers build physical, mental, and emotional toughness, something that is very important. I had a great time speaking with Roberto today. I'm super excited for you guys to listen to this episode. So let's jump in with Roberto Aguayo to hear his best advice for people in their 20s. Something I like to do for our interviews is start at the beginning. We're going to be going after your 20s today, but let's start a little earlier. I want to hear about your father's immigration story to the U.S. I saw that he became an immigrant, he became a U.S. citizen in 2004. And I know that story has been really, really impactful to you and your growth. So just talk to me a little bit more about that and what that story does for you.
Definitely. So let's see, where can I start? So my dad came to the States. He was born in León, Guanajuato, Mexico. And, growing up, he wanted a better life. He wanted to change his family tree. Because, over there he was on the ranch, he worked on the ranch and didn't make a lot of money. So he was like, you know what, I want to do something better for my family. I want to do something better for me, my future and my future kids. So the one goal is to come to the States, come to the US, where, the work that he did over there gets paid a ton more here. And, at the end of the day, he makes the option of I can stay here or I can go back. But he was coming to find something better. And it was a struggle. He attempted multiple times. And he's told us stories where, one day, probably write. I was like, Dad, you should write a book one day. But no, the struggle was hard and it was tough. And it was crazy because when he was he first attempted to come over and he was 18 and, he was shy. He wasn't that outspoken of a guy. And he only knew Spanish. So to him, it was an endeavor. And I was like, dang, Dad, when I was 18, I was entering college. I was a freshman, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's crazy from his journey from 18 to, I want to say when he eventually stayed here in the States when he was 21 or 22, that time frame, I was in college and he was, trying to cross go into a different country and risking it all, to try to have a better life. So he eventually did. And he worked hard and, he would send money back to his family, back to his parents, to make sure they were okay and whatever they needed. And he was saving up, money. And then at that time where he was like, well, I can go back or I can establish a life here and build, a life here, eventually have kids, have a wife. And that's when he met my mom. And it was here in Central Florida, where, we were raised up. And now with what we've been able to do and he instilled in us that at a young age where, there's heartache, there's things you go through. And he taught us that and life lessons of, hey, you think you have it hard, I had it harder, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it put a different perspective. And I want to say it built resiliency in me and my brother, to move forward, to push forward in different events in life. And know that he wanted something better for us. And I remember when he was taking his citizenship class, to become a citizen, and we helped them study. I wanted to, in 2004, so I was 10 years old. Um, so, I'd help him study, and the questions that he had, like that they ask, is just like a lot of US citizens probably don't know it. I didn't know a lot of it. I mean, I was 10 years old, but still, like,
Yeah.
questions that are basic, that are easy. But overall, it's been, amazing to see that my dad did that. He became a US citizen, and he's loved this country because it gave him an opportunity for him, not only him, but for his family.
I love that. I mean, that's a story about resiliency.
Hmm.
Things are not always going to work out the first time. You got to keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. So I know that
Exactly.
really just helped instill a lot of great lessons in you and your brother. So thank you so much for sharing. And I hope our audience is going to learn a lot from that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So now let's pivot to your love for football. I understand you had a history with soccer, which originally got you into football. It's not my story, so you're going to tell it. But when did you first find the passion for kicking?
So it started out playing soccer. That was my dad's sport, and he there was a soccer ball in our crib as when we were born. So when we could walk, he would always kick us a ball, and we would kick. We started the motion, and it wasn't until 7 years old. I don't know what grade that is right now off the top of my head, but our friends were playing. Our friends in school were playing football,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, that seems kind of cool. That's fun. I've watched it on TV. Big Florida State fan. And I was like, Mom, like let's play. Can I play football with my friends? And my mom looked into it, and we were like, yeah, we'll put you in. And my first year, they didn't kick field goals, so I was just a right guard. And then it wasn't until the next year, when I was 8 years old, in junior Pee Wees, where we needed to kick a field goal, an extra point. And I remember I was like, well, I play soccer, so whatever, but my main position was linebacker and tight end at that time. Um, so they lined us all up in a big line. And they were like, all right, we're gonna find our kicker today. It was like the third practice of the year. Um, and everyone lined up, and I was the only one that could do it. And I made my first one, and I was like, okay, and then went and kicked my second one, and I made it again. And coach was like, well, you're our kicker, Roberto. So you play tight end, you play linebacker, and you're kicker now. And I was like, cool. But after that, I was like, well, I just thought it was a soccer ball, and I kicked it. But eventually, after that kicking, everyone was like, well, you're really good at it. And I was like, well, am I? Like, but eventually, then, like, growing up, going into high school, I realized how good I was, and I could play D1 football, get a scholarship for it. So the love has been there since I was young.
And you just mentioned that growing up, you were a huge FSU fan, Florida State University. So that must have been crazy to be able to go to your school, A, B, win a national championship at FSU, and C, finish your career as the most accurate kicker in NCAA history. So let's break
Yeah.
down your college career. Talk to me about, this journey. And of course, like all your amazing accomplishments as well. And like just a few takeaways, what did you learn during this amazing time?
So I mean, looking back and talking about it, it's just you sometimes I sometimes surprise myself and say, wow, what I accomplished. It's hasn't been done, and records that I've broke
Mhm.
and that I've set, probably won't be broken in a long time. And I think about that sometimes, and I tell myself, wow, from going there my true freshman year, redshirting behind Dustin. I think that was a key factor in my success. Just being able to take it all in, because when you go there, you got to realize, like, okay, you're a student athlete. You have to go to school, go to class, do all those things, but also go lift weights, go to tutoring, go and perform on the field. So it's easy to get caught up in the overwhelming, I guess you could say, being pulled from every direction. Oh, my friends want to go and party, or my friends are going to go do this, but I have weights in the morning, and then I have homework. So it's like you have to be mentally, I guess, disciplined, and say, what am I here for? What brought me here? and dedicate yourself to that. And I was able to do that early on. And really that redshirt year gave me, because after that I was like, okay, now it's time to focus because I'm the next guy up. And it's not like I didn't focus my freshman year, but it gave me time to work out the kinks, work out like, hey, what's better to take, the harder classes in the spring and take the easier classes in the fall, stuff like that that many people don't know. Um, but yeah, taking time to dedicate to your craft, and that my craft was kicking, and going to class. And, you know, people say like, oh, you're an athlete, you're not into school that much, you're not focused on your studies, but you have to be to stay on the team. And it's tough, but at the same time it's awesome and it's fun. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, not being a collegiate athlete and doing the things that I did at FSU.
I love that point you made about time management. It really just shows you have to be the CEO of your own life. Like
Hmm.
you have responsibility, have places to be, and you have options to have freedom as well, have fun, party. But you really need to decide, okay, like what's most important right now.
Hmm.
I just love that point about like, if there's a party in the morning, yeah, probably going to do
Yeah.
that, or at night, probably
Yeah.
can't do that because you have weights in the morning.
Yeah.
So with that also being said, if you had a chance to go back to your 18-year-old self, so like before, like right before going to FSU, and give yourself one piece of advice. So something that you learned along the way, maybe it was from a mistake, maybe it was something that, an older classman taught you that you adapted into your lifestyle. What would you tell yourself?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I would say, um, cherish the moments more. Um, Cherish the friendships you make, the relationships you build, um, and live in the moment. Don't look ahead.
Hmm.
Don't, say like, oh, I want to already, leave and build a life or whatever. Cherish the moments because you only get college for 4 years. I mean, if you stay and get your master's, yeah, you can be there for, a couple more years, but you can only be in college once, right? Once you graduate and you're, my age now or 30, I mean, you can go back, but you're not. That time in your life is so pivotal and is so you're gonna meet friends for life. You're gonna do things that impact your future. And I think every decision you make, risk, make, go out on a whim, risk it. If you're
Hmm.
gonna thinking about doing something, do it, and that's the time to do it. And most importantly, have fun. Not that I didn't do those things, but like sometimes I wish I could have just relaxed and took it all in, because now looking back, it's like a great time. And I think I was just too caught up in the moment and doing this and doing that and blah, blah, blah. Where I wasn't like, wow, like this is cool what I've done, what I'm doing. I'm at one of the best universities in the country, you know. So
No, I love that. It's something I see from a lot of my peers. We are constantly rushing. I'm even subject to that sometimes. We want to like do this, do this, do this, always focus on what's next. We need to live
mm,
more in the moment. I
mm,
think I think the reason why is because a lot of times we compare ourselves to other people, and I've learned that comparison is the thief of joy. So really got to live in the
mm,
moment. It's great to see what other people are doing. It's great to be motivated to work harder based off of what your friends or peers or people you don't even know are doing. But you got to
mm.
live in the moment. So really, thank you for sharing that. So we'll then pivot to your career in the NFL. You were drafted in 2016, second round. I believe that was like the highest draft pick for a kicker in the last decade. Something that I've learned after speaking with a lot of athletes is that things move fast, in professional sports. And you've had a chance to work on, be a part of some awesome teams, work with some amazing people. But talk to me about the power of like mental toughness. So like when things are changing quickly, and when you're in a new environment, whether it's a sports team, whether it's a new job, or you're leaving college to find a new career, how do you just find peace in the patience?
I'll tell you, it's not easy. It's definitely tough. And with how I grew up and really having the right mentors around you, And, me being in the NFL, I've met a lot of resilient people and have been around a lot of mentally tough and mentally sound coaches that have, guided me along the way to, because sometimes you feel like, wow, am I the only one? Am I the only one going through this? Why, if everything was easy, everyone would do it. And in college, I had a bunch of success and, getting drafted, the expectations, it honestly was like, I wouldn't say the perfect storm, but, I hit a place where I'm like, okay, I've never been here before. And it was kind of like, okay, how do I adapt, and how do I move forward? It was tough. And, it's okay to sometimes feel um, like you don't know what to do or you don't know how to do something. But honestly, if I hadn't have gone through what I went through early on in the NFL and, been through the struggles and been through, you know, the lows, the lowest of the lows, I wouldn't have been the person today. And that's why I want to, I'm glad I went through that, because now in future events or future times where, things don't go my way, I know what I did during those times, to be, you know, stoic in situations where, you know, to really put in perspective, like, okay, and be grateful, like, okay, this is happening to me right now, but, you know, I'm breathing, I'm alive, and I'm able to do something, and really just control what you can control, not worry about what others say. Because once you start worrying about what others say, how others, how other people think about you, that's when you get down. That's when you're, and I'm not saying that I didn't think those things. Yeah, it's hard to think though. It's hard not to think, um, you know, about someone thinking about you or what are they saying about me. And it goes for, doesn't just go for athletes. It goes for everyone in the workforce and in any field, right? I've been, I was in finance for a year, and I was in the corporate world, and a lot of the things that I went through in football correlate to the corporate world.
Yeah.
And I felt as though like I had an advantage there, where I would be around people where sometimes they would stress or freak out or worry about a certain situation, where I looked at it as if like, hey, it's fine. Like, I wanted to be like, it's fine, it's okay. Like, it's really not that bad. You could be a lot worse. Like, you could, you know, I always look at it, me, be fired on national TV, go through scrutiny of everything you do is on national TV, is on Twitter, is on social media. They don't have that. So I want to be like, it's calm, it's gonna be okay. How are we gonna work? How are we gonna improvise, adapt, overcome? And you build a plan and you build steps and not worry about, okay, what if it goes wrong, what if this, or what is this person thinking about me? You can't, and so that's why, everything happens for a reason. And I think going through, even when I went through FSU, how to say, how to manage success, and how to try to keep it going. And then when you go through tough times, because you're bound to go through turmoil. Your life isn't going to be perfect. Life isn't going to be all, you know, Disney World. Everything's perfect, right? It's about managing those tough times and turning it around as quick as possible, improvise, adapting, and overcoming, and moving forward. So that's the mental toughness side.
I love that. No, you said a lot of quotable things there. So first off, control what you can control. I live by that. I totally agree. Some things are out of our control, and we can't dread on that. We got to focus on
Mhm,
what we can control, and move forward. And I know like a lot of the business leaders that I've interviewed say the same thing. It allows
mhm,
them to really put their focus towards things that they're good at, or like things that they, feel more comfortable with. So I know that that's really important. Number two, you mentioned, everything happens for a reason. I love looking at life like that as well. I'll even go as far as to say, things happen and it's all about your reaction. So that's another thing on
mhm,
control. Like things happen, we don't have control over the universe,
mhm.
and like what happens,
Exactly.
but it's all about what's the next move and how we bounce back from that. So I'm going to
Exactly.
ask you a similar question then to the college question. Who you are right now, if you were able to go back to your self as you were entering the NFL, And totally fine if you want to pull from some of the awesome things that you said there. But what's maybe like the one line or like a piece of advice you would give yourself?
Going into the NFL,
Yes.
I would probably say I'd probably say don't, and this is why I said what I said before,
Hmm.
because I learned it from this, is not worry about what others are thinking about you, right?
Of course.
And in college, it was fun because everything was on the good side. Everyone, you were, successful, winning national championships, winning a Groza. Yeah, it's all cool when everyone's patting you on your back, everyone's saying, good job. And I hadn't really gone through the negative where, you're at a restaurant and someone's murmuring about you and, saying things about you where you're just like, wow, like, no one likes me or no one, and it's like at the end of the day, it's real life. It's a job. It's a business. Leaving college, whether you're going to the NFL or whether you're going to the corporate world, life's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. And really not worry about what others think about you, control what you can control. And at the end of the day, I'm Roberto Aguayo, the person, the brother, the son, the uncle, the sister, or the brother, you know what I mean? Relative,
Of
right?
course.
Um, you're not Roberto Aguayo, the kicker,
Yes.
and it was easy, and it was, I got caught up in identifying myself as the Roberto Aguayo, the kicker. And that's who I carried myself as. And I took myself as like my performances is who I am. So, when I would do good, that means, yeah, I'm good. I'm a good person. I'm, worthy of whatever. Right. And then when I wouldn't do good, on the field, they'd just be like, well, I don't want to talk to anyone, or I don't want to, you know what I mean? No one wants to talk to me. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, what anyone does, they are a person. They,
Always.
you know, yeah. And really how you treat somebody, how you interact with somebody, and what you do to them and treat others, people with respect. And that's what someone's going to take away from them. Yeah, all the extra stuff is cool and all. And I'm not saying like, oh, don't do good and it's still going to be right. It's still going to be okay. No, I'm just saying if I was a little bit more centered in myself and in my foundation and beliefs of who I really am, I feel like I would have been able to adapt better to the struggle. But at the end of the day, if you haven't gone through something, that teaches you that, it teaches you that and how to be resilient and go through the fire. And, sometimes it might take you a month, sometimes it might take you 6 months, but going through certain situations like that, you learn from it. And that's what I would tell myself going into the league.
I love that. And something that really stood out to me as well was, not caring so much about what the critics think.
Hmm.
That's a given. And I think that it is very difficult to do that though, because there is so much noise. But you said even the flip end of it, don't get so, don't like get so wrapped up in like even the positive, like acclamations and
Hmm.
stuff too. I think like that kind of, and like you need to be appreciative, obviously, if someone's saying like good job, you're
Yeah,
doing great. But I think it goes both ways too. Try
yeah.
and just like remain as centered as possible, and just focus on like what you can do, what you want to do. And I think
Hmm.
that's really where you find strength. So I love that. So now
Definitely.
my final question, and something I love to end our interviews on is what's next. So I know you're working on this kicking academy. I could see it on the hat. Super excited to hear about this new journey in your life. What you're looking to accomplish with this, what you're trying to instill in young people, and what you're looking to gain from this opportunity as well.
Definitely. And yeah, I created my academy about 2 years ago. Worked with a couple of athletes privately, one on one, and then COVID hit. So I was gonna do a camp, and COVID hit, and that kind of like put everything on the back burner. And with life now, me being, I was with the Patriots, then I got released, and still working out. And then I'm like, well, you know what? Now I can focus on this academy and bring what I've learned in my experiences, in my journey, And I want to, teach that to the new generation because, the guys that I worked with teaching them, it was sometimes it's some little adjustment and they get it. And then just seeing that excitement on their faces, is awesome. But obviously to me, it's not only, the physical side of it.
Mhm.
With what we talked about today, there's kicking today or being an athlete today is different from what it was 15 years ago. Any move you make, anything you do, you're going to be on social media, you're going to be on Twitter, how to adapt in those situations, how to be mentally sound, not only on the field, but in your everyday life, how to um, adapt to success, adapt to not only, the bad stuff, but the good stuff. And with my academy, I want to create a foundation, physically, mentally, and emotionally. All those three things encompass you being a better athlete. But like I said in this interview, not only being a better athlete, but being a better overall person in life. Because a lot of these things that I've learned through sports, through being a specialist, through being a kicker, it has helped me in my everyday life
Of
in
course.
situations where it doesn't relate to football or it doesn't relate to anything athletic. I take what I've learned and through my experiences, and it helps me be look at things from a different perspective, or say like, I've already gone through this, but on on the field, or how to communicate with someone else, and and it really brought it to light when I went to the corporate world, where I was like, well, this is my first time being outside of football, but it's really a lot of the same traits coming from a sport, a team sport, and how to manage different situations, how to manage when you have deadlines, and you know now it's not, oh, I got to go lift and eat right, but I got to make sure I have a calendar and I have appointments, and it's different things, but from being an athlete and being resilient and going through things, on the athletic side, you take it to a different, take it to that corporate world or whatever phase or whatever industry you're in. So because not everyone's going to go to the NFL. There's 32 spots, and there's 2,000, 3,000, kickers out there in high school. Um, a lot of them will be able to go to college, and being able to get a scholarship and getting your school paid for um, is big time.
Yeah.
That changes lives. That changed my life. I would be in debt right now, or you know, I wouldn't have gone to college, and just that gave me the opportunity. So I want to give the opportunity to these kids because there is a new generation out there, and I want to be able to teach them the most recent, the most up to date information, in the physical side, mental side, and emotional side, where they take this and yes, they become better kickers, but at the end of the day, they become better human beings, and just better people to adapt in life. Because, yeah, some kid might just end up kicking through the high school level and be done, and then go to school and not, be able to kick in college, or, you know, some guys go to college, but they won't go to the NFL. But at the end of the day, they have the foundation of being elite in all those three levels, where they take it from what they learned here in the academy, and they go, well, I learned that when I was at Roberto Aguayo's kicking academy, and now I'm using it for some other, part of life. So at the end of the day, I want to create great specialists, and I know I can, and I'm excited for it. And I'm excited for the future, and we'll see where RA Kicking Academy goes.
I love that. I love that, Roberto. That is super, super powerful. First off, I always love seeing alignment, between two separate industries that you don't think would be really related. For me, before entering the corporate world, I was really involved in theater. And while I'm not like on stage all the time anymore, there's a lot of traits I take from theater and use every single day: public speaking, communication, collaboration.
Exactly.
So I love that you recognize, because that's a different approach. Your program
Mhm,
sounds very unique in that sense. You
mhm,
recognize that it's not just about kicking a football. It's much more than that. It's almost metaphorical. I mean, where you
yeah,
really are trying to build mental, emotional, and physical strength in people.
mhm,
And for those who, end up going to the NFL, and taking the skills that they learn from your academy, that's great. I mean, they're obviously going to be better kickers, but for those that don't, that's fine because they'll have so many more skills to bring to so many industries that they're going to learn in your academy. So that's really powerful. If people want to learn more about your academy, where can they find information about it? And then also, what are the ages for the academy?
Ages, really, I started kicking when I was 8 years old. So eight and up, all the way to college guys,
Mhm.
NFL guys. So yeah, if you can kick a soccer ball, you can kick a football, we'll get you started. And yeah, any information, rakickinacademy.com. That's my website. You can learn a lot more information there, and more information will be, uploaded to the site. And I'm excited, and it's gonna be rolling here soon.
Super excited to see updates about that program, and we'll make sure to link it all to the description of the episode as well, so people can get involved and learn from a great. So, Roberto, thank you so much again for
Definitely.
joining the In Their 20s podcast. I know you're still in your 20s, and we don't interview a whole lot of 20 somethings, but I mean, you've just done so much, and you've really, you've learned just so much also throughout your life,
Yeah,
and a lot of the skills. A lot of the lessons, a lot of the best practices that you shared today will really help guide 20 somethings in a better direction. And that's all I'm trying to do. I really believe that in
definitely.
order to become successful, you need to see success. So it was really awesome
Definitely.
hearing your story. And thank you again for sharing it.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Landon. I love your pod. And yeah, I'm excited for everyone in their 20s to hear this, and be a part of your story as well.
Thank you so much for streaming our exclusive interview with Roberto Aguayo. If you enjoyed this interview and want more content like this, you need to subscribe to In Their 20s wherever you stream your podcast. We're continuing to inspire and educate people with our amazing interviews. So make sure to subscribe. See you soon.